Hello everyone and welcome back to Age of Nagash, channel dedicated to Age of Sigmar, and in this video it's going to be my first video on how to play Age of Sigmar on the tabletop. So what I want to firstly say about this video, it's going to be very basic. It's going to be one unit versus another unit. So if you're an experienced Age of Sigmar player, in all honesty, this isn't going to be the video for you. Go check out another video. In this video we're not going to be learning how to play Age of Sigmar as competitive as you can. It's literally just for you to understand the mechanics of the game. So hopefully if you are a brand new player, you may not have even played Age of Sigmar yet, you've just been reading some of the books or looking online, this video will help you to understand it a little bit better. That's the idea. Obviously, hence the lockdown, I'm playing against myself, and it's going to be very simple, a unit of 10 Skeleton Warriors versus a unit of 5 Chaos Warriors. Now, we're not playing any points or anything like that in this game either. It's literally just open play, but like I say, the idea is that you understand the core mechanics of the game by the end of it. So with no further ado, let us get to the tabletop. So before we actually start the game, I just wanted to point out what you're going to need to be able to play the game. So firstly, what you're going to need are some dice, as it's a dice to rolling game. You're going to need a form of measuring, so we commonly use a tape measure. You can also use things called combat gauges, which are these two things here. This is a Games Workshop one, this is a third-party one. And essentially what they do is they measure small distances. So in Age of Sigmar, that's something that we do quite a bit, see if things are in combat, that sort of thing, see a range of weapons. So there's something that's not a essential that you need to be able to play this game, but it's something that I would strongly recommend just to make your life quite a bit easier. And I think that from Games Workshop, I don't know if it's still available, that cost me something around lines of about £7, and that one, third party one, cost me about a few pounds, something like that. So for the price, it's definitely worth it. Something else you are going to need is Age of Sigmar the core rules. Now, if you remember our last video, this is what I went through. I went through the majority of it. And this is something that you can download free off the Games Workshop website, like I said. You can also get it in their Age of Sigmar app, I believe. And it's also in other prints as well. It's a free rule set, so it's very easy to read and download and get for yourself. So the next thing you're going to need after that is the war scrolls for the units you're planning to use in the game. So as mentioned, in this game there's going to be Skeleton Warriors and Chaos Warriors. So you may be thinking like, oh, what do I need these cards to be able to play? No, you do not. These are called war scroll cards, so it's just a printed format of those cards that are available to buy. But if you don't want to buy them, or you haven't got access to be able to buy them, you can literally just go onto the Games Workshop app, which is the Age of Sigmar app, go on there, and then you'll be able to get all the war scrolls for free. Easy to download on your mobile or your tablet, or you can go onto the Games Workshop website itself and download the war scrolls for free there. So essentially, apart from getting dice and a tape measure, everything you need to play the basic game of Age of Sigmar is absolutely free. Now that the table's been set up, and to start the game, the first thing we do is roll off the sides. Now, as you can see, this is a very small board that we're playing on. It's just like I say, it's one unit versus another unit and just like a basic understanding. But what we're going to do is roll, like I say, to see which side gets which of the board. So firstly, we're going to roll for death. Now, my death force in this game is going to have red dice, and my Chaos Warrior Sinesh force is going to have white dice, just to make it a little bit easier to separate the dice rolls. Also, when you're playing against your opponent, it's useful if you have different coloured dice, just so you don't get them mixed up. Okay, so for the death forces, they're going to get a 3, and then for the Slave Darkness forces, they are going to get a 3 as well. So that's quite interesting because this is a roll off. What you have to do is whoever rolls highest wins, and whoever rolls highest in this case gets to choose which side of the board they want. So we've got a tie here because we've got a 3 and a 3. So what that means is we have to do the roll off again because we can't tie on this dice roll. So Death again are going to roll, and they're going to get a 1 for this case because a skull on this dice is a 1. And then Slaves Darkness are going to get a 2. This is a perfect example of how good my rolling is. So even with a slightly higher number, it still means that Slaves of Darkness win the roll-off to decide who gets which side of the board, and that also means they can deploy their first unit. So as you can see, the Sinesh forces have been set up. Now, depending on the battle plan you're playing, so depending on the mission that you're playing and the objectives, is going to tell you how to set up your army on the table. So because this is just a simple game, all I said, it has to be within 7 inches of the board edge. So these units of Chaos Warriors, so this one unit here is set up wholly within 7 inches of the board edge. And then on the other side of things, we have got the Skeleton Warriors that are again also set up within 7 inches of the board edge in this case. Okay, as you can see how I've set them up, every single model is within 1 inch of each other, if not a bit closer. So that means that the coherency is there. And you can see that again for the Skeleton Warriors. They're all within 1 inch of each other. So, as in this game, there's only 1 unit per side, and that the Slaves of Darkness Nagash forces set up first. That is going to be down to them to decide who's going to take the first turn. Now, because this is actually quite a small game, we can see, and the units are quite close to each other, the Slaves of Darkness are going to go first to try and get to the enemy as soon as possible and to destroy them. So to start the Slaves of Darkness Nagash turn, what we would normally do is have a hero phase where we do command abilities and magic and stuff like that with the wizards and so on. But because it has got no heroes in this game at all, and it's just sort of a standard unit versus standard unit, there is nothing to be done in the hero phase. However, we do still gain that 1 command point. So what we are going to do instead is going to go straight on to movement. So just a quick thing to say, just because I am holding the camera, I'm doing this, I am going to be setting up a tape measure, so it's just a bit easier to see how far I need to go, which is 5 inches, because these guys can move 5 inches. And that does not mean they have to move all the way up to 5 inches. They can do whatever they want, so they can move 1 inch, they can move 2 inch, 3 inch, etc. They just can't exceed 5 inches for their movement. But because we want to get to the enemy as soon as possible and destroy the skeletons, we are going to move our full movement. Now, something you can do just to make your lives a little bit easier, especially when you start the game, is like I say, set up a tape measure there, and then when you go to move these units, you know that that's moved 5 inches. And then we go to this one, which is on the other side, and we put him parallel to the first one we moved. He has moved 5 inches as well. So what we can do then is literally just fill the gap with the other units. Now, this might seem a bit like a minuscule thing to talk about when we're just moving 5 models. However, when we are moving the Skeleton Warriors, which if that does happen in this game, you will see it's going to be very useful when you're moving big blocks. So now that we have done our movement phase and we have moved the Chaos Warriors, the next phase is the shooting phase. However, our Chaos Warriors, as we can see on their war scroll, do not have any missile or weapons, so there is no shooting phase for us. So we're going to go straight into the charge phase. An important thing to notice about the shooting phase, though, is that if you play an army that doesn't really have a lot of shooting, apart from the odd unit, make sure you do not forget about doing it. For the amount of times I played with my Death Army and used standard to not having any shooting, then I forget that my zombie dragon had a shooting attack. It is very annoying. So with no further ado, let us go on to the charge phase, which is very simple. So what we're going to do is we're going to pick up 2 dice. So this is 2d6, like I mentioned d6s before in the core rules. And what we do is we roll these 2 together, add that together, and then that is our total inches that we can move to make the charge. So I have measured this, and I believe it is a 7-inch charge we need. So we're going to roll the dice now. So we get a 9 there, as we can see, a 5 and a 4. But actually, if we refer to our war scroll again, like I mentioned in the war scroll videos, we look at the things that you get in this unit. So as we can see here, a Hornblower, which is 1 in every 5 models in this unit, can be a Hornblower. Add 1 to the run and charge rolls for this unit, while it includes any Hornblowers. So because we just did a charge roll and we got a 9, we can add 1 to it. So that's actually going to be a charge of 10. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move the models and we're going to get straight back to it. So as you can see, we have completed the charge move, as we have now finished within half an inch of the enemy unit of Skeleton Warriors. So what we want to do now is elect one of our units to attack. Now we have only got 1 unit, so we of course are going to be going with the Chaos Warriors. So when we go to look at their attacks, we're going to go to their war scroll. So they have got the Chaos hand weapons and shield. So this is the top one here. So we can see that it's got a range of 1 inch. It's got 2 attacks, freeze to hit, freeze to wound, no rend, 1 damage. If you're confused by any of this and how this works, please watch my War Scroll videos, so I explain it in great detail there. But as we can see, the weapon range is actually going to be 1 inch. So every single one of our Chaos Warriors needs to be within 1 inch of the enemy to be able to do their attacks. Now, as we can see, as we measure from base to base, they're all within 1 inch of the enemy. So as they all make 2 attacks each, just remember to check the aspiring champion who actually makes 1 extra attack. So we are going to be rolling 11 dice as there are 5 Chaos Warriors here. So I'm just going to pick up the 11 dice now, and I am going to be trying to get freeze. So as you can see, we've got a fairly average roll, I'd say. So anything that in this case is a 1 or 2, we're going to take away. Now, this is a good thing to get an early practice off, is when you're seeing what your results are, always take away the misses. Just so that means that if you do ever go to a sort of a tournament level play style, and you're so used to taking away your misses when you go to remove your dice, it means your opponent can sort of have a bit of faith in you, that you're not just like taking away the hits and like quickly taking away a 1 and pretending that is a hit. But with that aside, we can see in this case we are going to have 7 hits, which is actually, I said that was about average, that's actually very good. And then we're going to need freeze to wound again, which is, there we go, there's the luck of my dice. So that is not really average, that's a bit of a poor roll. So that means out of all those 7 dice, only 2 have actually gone through to wound the enemy. Now the Skeleton Warriors are going to try and save. So as it is their job, so we've hit them, we've wounded them, now are the Skeleton Warriors going to be able to save it with their crypt shields. So if we go to have a look at their War Scroll, as we can see, try and make sure the light's not too blurry in it. They've got a 6-up save, but if we go to where it says Crypt Shields, which we talked about in the War Scroll video, it says add 1 to save rolls for a unit carrying Crypt Shields against attacks with a rend characteristic of dash. Now that's where we go back to check the rend of the Chaos Warriors, and we see it is dash for their Chaos hand weapons. Now, if you are playing against an opponent, which is the very normal way to play Age of Sigmar, you'll very commonly just ask your opponent if they have rend, and they will give you a straight up answer. If they say they don't, then that means you're going to get +1 for your save for these skeletons. So these skeletons have actually got a 5-up save. So they are going to roll these dice and try and get 2 5s up. Now, sticking to what I said earlier, I am going to stick to the red dice just so we can keep that up. So we're going to try and get 5s and 6s. So luckily, we actually managed to save one of those. That means only one of these skeletons is going to die. And what we're going to do in this case is we're just going to remove this one here, just because it's the furthest away from the enemy. I know that doesn't sound like it makes much sense, but in Age of Sigmar you can take away your casualties however you please unless stated otherwise, and there is a lot of strategy to that which we'll get to in another video. So I'm going to quickly tidy up the dice, and then we are going to go to the skeletons attack. So before that we can attack with the Skeleton Warriors, we first need to do a piling move because they have got a 1-inch range weapon with their swords, and as we can see, there is a couple back here, or maybe just one, that is out of range of 1 inch. So what we need to do is pile in these guys. So that means move a bit close to the enemy to make sure we can get in all our skeletons to attack. So what we use for here is, what I'm going to use is a combat gauge. So this is something that I mentioned earlier, and this is for the 3-inch measuring, because that's how far you can pile in. So again, like with normal movement, you don't have to move the full 3 inches, but that's just up to what you can move. And remember, when you do this, you need to stay within 1 inch of a friendly model from the unit, and the unit all has to be within 1 inch of each model, if that kind of makes sense, to keep coherency. So as an example, we're going to move this guy here. I'll put the little measuring thing just so we know it's within 3 inches. And we're just going to make him move up there, and then we are going to move him there. And the one important thing to remember when you're piling in is you have to pile into the closest enemy model, and you have to be no further away from the enemy model than you were before the piling move. So as we can see for this hornblower here, it's going to be this Chaos Warrior here that's the closest. So we can still move around to be within 1 inch of our unit, but making sure it doesn't go any further away. So what we're going to do is keep on moving these like here until they're all in range. So as you can see, the Skeleton Warriors are all in range now. They're 1 inch attacks, and we're all still within 1 inch of each other, so we haven't broken our unit coherency. Right, so what we're going to do is attack with the Ancient Blades. Now there are 9 Skeleton Warriors, as one of them died last time. And the champion for these Skeleton Warriors, as we can see here, similar to the Chaos Warrior, makes an extra attack. So we're going to quite simply roll 10 attacks for these guys, so 10 dice. Now, as we can see, like I said, it's 1 inch range, 1 attack, force hit, force wound, no rend, and 1 damage. So we are wanting to get 4s with these dice rolls. So what we have got, if I take away the misses, like I mentioned before, is actually, to be fair, a pretty good dice roll there. Very happy with that. Now, are their wound rolls going to be better than the Chaos Warrior wound rolls? We'll have to see. So what, again, we want our 4s. Now, this is a lot better. As we can see, we've only got 1 miss. So that is going to be 5 saves for the Chaos Warriors to make. So, to be fair, when the Chaos Warriors are going to go first and attack the Skeletons, I thought, oh, the Skeletons are probably going to be done for. But looks like the tables have turned. So it's going to be, like I say, 5 saves. We're going to go back to our Slaves of Darkness dice. Nice white ones to make it nice and simple. And we're going to roll these. Now, looking at their save, they are going to want 4+. So trying to get 4 pluses. So we have actually failed 3 saves because we've got 3 under 4. And there's no rend with the Skeleton Warrior guys, like we mentioned before. So that means they're going to take 3 damage. Now, Chaos Warrior is a little bit interesting. And you may be thinking from the start, how come, you know, with the Skeletons versus Chaos, there's actually 10 Skeletons versus 5 Warriors. How is that fair? Because the Warriors, as you can see, they're a bit bigger and they've got more wounds. So they have now sustained 3 wounds. We need to now allocate the damage. It was nice and simple with the Skeletons because they are 1 wound each, as we could see. So we could just take 1 model away. Now, with the Chaos Warriors, they are actually going to be 2 wounds each. So if they've taken 3, that means that 1 of them is just going to die. So for simple sake, we would just take away this one here. So he's dead. And then we're going to put a wound on to another one. So you can get wound counters, and that's something I do have, but for simpleness of this video, because I know a lot of you guys probably don't have that you're starting out, we're just going to use 1 dice, and we're going to put a 1 there just to say that he has got he has sustained 1 wound. Some people may put a 1 there to say that he's got 1 wound left, but I always like to count up. Okay, so now that the Skeleton Warriors have attacked, that is actually the end of the combat phase, because the Chaos Warriors went first as it was their turn, and then it was the Death's turn to choose what to attack with, and they only had the Skeleton Warriors. So now it is the end of the combat phase, which is going to take us into the Battle Shock phase. Now, this is something that can be a little bit confusing to some people, and it still makes my head spin a little bit. Sometimes when I have to do it in bigger games. And it is, in all honesty, it's very simple. It's just simple maths. So in this situation, it doesn't really matter at all, but I will still explain the sort of mechanics of how it works. So the Chaos Warriors would take their Battle Shock test first, as it is their turn. Now, what we would have to do is roll 1d6, so 1 6-sided dice, or standard dice. Roll that, add the number of casualties, so 1, and then get higher than our bravery. Our bravery is, you know, our leadership, how, you know, inspired we are to fight and not scared. So we'd roll this dice and then add 1 as we lost 1 model over there. So that means the most we could get on this dice is a 7. And like I said, we needed to beat this number to make sure to see if any of our models ran away. So the good news of the Chaos Warriors is that they're not going to have any models run away, because even if they did roll a 6, they would get a 7, and that means that they haven't beaten their bravery. Another important thing to mention is that you can add 1 to bravery for this unit if they have a standard bearer. So as you can see already, that's why we would not take the standard bearer away as a casualty, is because he adds something useful to the team on this one. So there actually are bravery 8. Now, the reason why I mentioned the standard bearer to give him a +1 is because if we look at the skeleton standard bearer, like I mentioned in the War Scroll video, they have actually made the Chaos Warriors -1 bravery, so it effectively cancels out that banner. So it's quite interesting. So if the Chaos Warriors didn't have that banner, there's a chance that they could lose a warrior of their own. So in this case, they do not need to take a Battle Shock test. The Skeleton Warriors are actually, surprise, surprise, being deaf, have got very good bravery 10. So them losing 1 means that it is impossible for them to run away in this scenario. So with that, that is the end of the turn, and we are now going to go into the Skeleton's turn 1 as the Slaves of Darkness went first. So the Death turn 1 with the Skeleton Warriors. Now, we would normally start, like I say, the hero phase, where we're going to get command point. That's still going to happen, but we are going to skip the hero phase as there's nothing we can do with it, as we have got no heroes in this game. So the next phase is movement phase, and this could be a chance for the Skeleton Warriors to retreat if they want to run away and go somewhere else. The Skeleton Warriors are not going to do that because there's nothing else for them to do in this game but to kill the Chaos Warriors, so they're going to stay in combat. And that means that we're going to skip the movement phase, skip the charge phase as we're already in combat, so we can't recharge the Chaos Warriors, and then go into, and also without me skipping the shooting phase, we've got nothing to shoot with, and straight into the combat phase. So what we're going to do is we're going to pile in attack, because this one now is just a little bit out of range, so we're just going to move him there. I know, like, you have to measure the 3 inches, but I could easily see that was 1 inch, let alone 3. So we are then going to go to attack. So again, we're going to have 10 attacks, and we are going to want force to hit. So again, the Skeleton Warriors are actually doing not a bad rolling on that, so pretty happy with that. That's 7 hits, very good. Don't usually roll that well for my skeletons. Going on to wounding. Yeah, that's more like it. That's more of the Chaos Warrior side we saw, isn't it? So that is going to be 2 saves for the Chaos Warriors to make. It's actually going to be quite interesting now, as one of them has sustained that wound. If they fail one of these, it's going to kill another Chaos Warrior. So 2 saves for the Chaos Warriors to make. So, but chances are they actually failed one there, which is going to mean that this Chaos Warrior was just a little bit too slow, and a skeletal blade jabbed him right into the neck. So that is going to kill this one here. So a couple of things to mention there. So that's obviously going to be impactful for when we do the Battle Shock for the Chaos Warriors. But also, because the Chaos Warriors are going to attack now, that's 1 less attack they're going to get. It was similar when the Skeletons lost 1 model. It's 1 less attack that was going to attack the Chaos Warriors. So it's impactful right now in the game as well. So going straight into the Chaos Warriors, as they have not got many attacks now, because there's, quite frankly, not many left, as there's only 3 of them left, which is going to be the Hornblower, the Banner, and the Champion. So they make 2 attacks each. The Champion makes 3 attacks. So we're going to get our 7 dice. We're hitting on 3s like before. So hitting on 3s, so only 1 fail there. And then we are, pick that up again, and then we are wounding on 3s. So that is very good. So we have got, what's that, 5 saves for the Skeletons to make there. So that is, in this case, game changing, I would say, depending on how these Skeletons roll, as they need to get 5s. So we're just going to see, we're going to go to roll these. Just give you guys a little bit of tip when you're rolling dice. Just for what's nice for your opponent is if, like, let's say I was going to pick up these 5 dice here and roll to make these saves, and let's say 1 falls out there, and let's say that turns to a 6. That's a good one. Before I've rolled the rest of the dice, it's quite sort of accustomed to pick it up and put it back in your hand, because you didn't really roll the dice, just slipped out by accident and just got you a good result. It's the same if it's a low result as well. Just like a little tip. So it's, like I say, when you remove your misses to get in a habit off from the start. But anyway, let's get into the saves for the Skeleton Warriors. So they are going to want to get 5. Wow, okay, so they want to get 5s and up, and they managed to get 3 6s. So that means only 2 skeleton warriors going to die. Very, very lucky for them. So what we're going to do is we're going to take away these 2 skeleton warriors up here. Very generally lucky there for the skeleton warriors. So with the combat done, again, we're going to go into Battle Shock. Now, the skeletons lost 2 models to the unit, and they have got Bravery 10. So if we rolled a d6, the most we could get is an 8. So they're perfectly fine. Being deaf, they're not really scared of much. And then the Chaos Warriors, on the other hand, they again lost 1 model. So it's the same situation as last time, and they are okay as well. So with that, we are going to go into the next turn, which is actually a new battle round, which is going to be Battle Round 2. Now, what we do here is we roll for priority like we did at the start of the game. So this means that whoever wins this roll off is going to have their turn first. If the person who went first in the last battle round, which were the Chaos Warriors, if they draw with the opponent, and that means that the Chaos Warriors get to go first. So the Slave Darkness gets to go first. So roll off for Battle Round 2 between the Skeletons and the Chaos Warriors. They could both do with it. So with the Skeletons first, so we're going to get a 5, and then the Chaos Warriors, we're going to get a 3. So that means that the Skeletons have got a Battle Round 2, and they will be going first. Just a little reminder there, you don't have to go first. You can let your opponent go first, but in this case, the Skeletons really, really do want it. Right then, so this is Skeleton / Death turn 2. Now, like again, I've mentioned before, it's their hero phase to start with, which means they get an extra command point. So now they're on 2. We have then got a movement phase. These guys don't want to retreat, they want to kill the Chaos Warriors. We have then got shooting. They've got nothing to shoot with, so we're going to skip that. Then we've got charging. They're not going to charge again because they're already in combat. And then that means that we go straight to the combat phase. So when the situation's like this and it's a very small game, it's very streamlined. You'll go through turns quite quickly. But obviously in bigger games, when you've got 5 or 7 units in combat, it does take longer. So for the first time for the Skeletons, we don't need to pile in as we've got everything in range. Now we've only got 7 Skeletons left. So we're going to make 8 attacks. The champion, like I say, makes the extra 1. So with the 8 attacks, let's see what they can do. So they're hitting on 4s with their Ancient Blades. So not the best roll there. Not as good as it has been for the Skeletons. But, a typical roll for myself. And then going to wound. So we've only got 1 wound for the Chaos Warriors. So that means that a Chaos Warrior will not die in this turn. So with that 1 wound, let's see if they're going to save it. They don't actually save it. Oh god, the Chaos Warriors are not doing so good. So what we're going to do now is things get a little bit more interesting, because the only models we have left in this unit are special models. So we've got the Hornblower, we've got the Standard Bearer, and we've got the Champion. Now what you want to do before you allocate this 1 wound is think, what is the most useful to yourself? So the Champion gets the extra attack. That's pretty useful right now. The Banner gives you that +1 bravery, which is good, and particularly very good when you're up against an enemy unit that makes you -1 bravery. And the Hornblower allows you to get an extra 1 inch to your movement when you run or charge, which is a good ability, and it helped us out earlier. But for right now that we're stuck in combat, and these guys might not actually come out of the combat, that's the least important ability. So we're going to put this 1 wound on the Hornblower, because it's the least important right now. Okay, so that was the Skeleton Warriors. We're going to go straight into the Chaos Warriors. As like I say, there's not really many of them, and there's actually a dwindling quicker than expected. So we're going to make 6 attacks plus that extra 1, so 7 attacks because of the Champion. So again, they're going to be hitting on 3s. So we have a little thing about there, be careful you don't mix these dice up, because when they roll next to the wound dice. So we want to get 3s. So we have managed to get 5 there. And then we want 3s again. Ooh, so we've got 5 saves for the Skeleton Warriors, which I believe was the same last time. So let's see if they can be as lucky and they can get those 3 6s. So Skeleton Warriors wanting to get 5s. Ooh, a bit more average there. So that means that we're going to lose 4 Skeleton Warriors. So despite it being the Death's turn, it actually hasn't been a great turn for them as they've lost 4 of their important skeleton warriors in this battle. So we're going to go into a battle shock, and as it is the Death's turn, we're going to go with the skeleton warriors first battle shock. Now they did lose their 4 models. Something that's important to say is do keep track of what models die in each turn for when you do your battle shock, because you don't want to be rolling like extra ones we can see down here in the bottom left, to try and figure out, how many casualties die and how many, numbers do I need to add to my dice roll. In this case, it's just going to be 4. Now, when it comes to battle shock, for these guys, like I say, even if they've taken a lot of casualties, the skeleton warriors have got that nice bravery of 10. So that means that the most they could roll on one dice is a 6, plus the 4, it's going to be 10, so they're still going to be okay. The Chaos Warriors didn't lose any casualties, so with that, we're going to go straight into the Chaos turn. Now, just something to say is obviously we'd get the extra command point, the hero phase. We're not going to do the hero phase. We're not going to do the movement phase. We don't want to retreat. We want to kill the skeletons. Very much the same objectives that the skeletons have got. And we don't want to shoot because we haven't got anything to shoot with. We don't want to charge because we're in combat. And then that means we're going to go straight into combat. So going with the Chaos Warriors attacks, we are going to attack with their Chaos hand weapons. We're just going to make sure that this guy is in range to attack, which is movement nudge there. That's absolutely fine. And so we've got 7 attacks here, hitting on 3s. So as you can see that they all hit a bar one of them. So we just remove this one up here. We're then going to go onto the wound rolls, which we want 3s again. So wounding and hitting very well. These truly are the best of the unit. So we have got 4 saves for the skeletons to make. Now the skeletons need to make 5s here. It's actually possible for them all to die because they only have 3 models left. So let's see how they get. Sticking with tradition, let us go with the red dice, try not to get them muddled up. So that is actually a pretty good roll, but still that means that the skeletons lose 2 models, which means there's only going to be 1 model left. So because of the fact that I'm not really going to do much damage to the Chaos Warriors, I'm not worried about trying to make them run away in battle shock. So I'm taking away the banner that gave me -1 bravery. And because I'm not worried about like the charge ability which they get through the horn, I am not going to keep the Hornblower either, which means I'm going to leave the champion because he makes 2 attacks instead of 1. Okay, so that means it is now the Skeleton Warrior's turn to attack. So we only got 1 here, but maybe he can kill that Chaos Warrior Hornblower there with 1 wound remaining. So 2 attacks, so we want to get 4s. So we've got 1, then wounded on 4. So that is a 6. So that means that they have actually got 1 save to make these Chaos Warriors. So they could lose that model. So yes, it's a 1. So that is a failed save. So that means that this guy is going to unfortunately die and meet his end. So now we are down to 1 Skeleton Warrior and 1... well, I say 1, 2 Chaos Warriors. So we're not going to do Battle Shock because, like I've explained enough times, in this game it's happened to be not very relevant. But we are going to go into the next turn, which is going to be, like I say, a battle round, and we're going to do another roll-off. So again, the Chaos Warriors went second in this turn. So that means that they will not win a tie this time, but the Skeletons will. So for battle round 3, let us see. So we're going to do the Skeletons first. What are they going to get? They're going to get 6, which means that the Chaos Warriors would not be able to win this roll-off because the Skeletons are going to win the ties. So we can see what they would get anyway, but even if they got a 6, it wouldn't matter. The Skeletons will win. So that's actually very lucky for this 1 skeleton here, as he kind of needs all the luck he can get. So what we're going to do is, like I said, we get the extra command point. We're not going to do the hero phase, movement phase, shooting phase, charge phase. We're going to go straight into the combat phase. So we're going to roll for this guy straight away, see if we can kill another Chaos Warrior. So 1 and 4s. So only 1 and a 4 to wound. We got that. So let's see if the Chaos Warrior is going to take some damage. So the Chaos Warriors actually saved it. And I think this is going to be the end for our Skeleton Warrior. So we're going to roll the dice. So we've got 5 attacks to make for the Chaos Warriors, and we are hitting on 3s. So we want 3, so 1 failed. Wounded on 3s. So we have got 3 saves for the Skeleton Champion to make here. I don't think he's going to make it because he wants to get 5. So if he gets 3 5s here, he truly deserves to stay in the fight. So let us see. So he got 1, which was noble. He got a 6, but he got 2 2s as well, which means it's going to be 2 damage to the Skeleton Warriors. And that is going to kill him. So with that, we have our champions, which are going to be the Chaos Warriors that managed to destroy the Skeleton Warriors belonging to Death. So obviously what I want to say in this game is we weren't playing for an objective, and we weren't like playing any particular mission. It was just kill 1 enemy. So, you know, it's not the most balanced ever, but the idea, like I said at the start, was hopefully for you guys to try and understand the game a little bit more. So hopefully you managed to do this in this video. The next video I plan to do is going to be very similar, just the unit sizes maybe double and have a hero as well, so we have things like command points to be used and like magic. That's something we want to do. I want to apologise if the camera's been a little bit shaky. As I say, I've been playing and holding it with my other hand, so hopefully it hasn't been too bad. And apologies if I've been mixing up things like what I've been calling each army, if I've been calling them Sinesh or Slaves of Darkness or Chaos Warriors or Death, Skeletons, whatever. They all mean the same thing. So with that, guys, I really hope that it has helped you, and it has been very simple. So if you have been an experienced player and you have been watching this and you've been wondering why it's been dumbed down a lot, there's your answer. Quite simply, you should watch something else. And if you guys have got any questions, or there's anything you think I missed or anything you'd like me to do, please put it in the comments, so then I'll hear it and I'll do my best to be able to do that for you. Okay, guys, thank you very much for watching this video. I really hope you appreciate it. Like I say, it's my first one doing like a tabletop how to play, and I haven't really done many tabletop videos in general, so it'd be great to hear your thoughts on it. And yes, guys, so like I say, thank you very much for watching. If you did enjoy, please like, subscribe, comment down below. That massively does help, and it's absolutely free for you guys to do so. I want to say a massive shout out to my patrons. They know they are, and they do a fantastic job. Make sure everyone out there who's watching this, you know, stay safe, wash your hands, stay indoors, everything like that. Protect the NHS and everything else. And with all that out of the way, I am going to thank you for watching this again. And remember, until next time, Nagash is all, and all is one in Nagash.